Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey everybody, Paranormal Karen here. Happy Halloween. This is a great episode. Sometimes it's hard to find great ghost stories for a Halloween episode, but these are fantastic. I got Jeff Thill. I got my friend Dawn and Frank to come on. So happy Halloween. And two things. First, let's get business out of the way. November 8th and 9th, you can see me in Ogden, Utah, Wise Guys. November 22nd and 23rd in Chinook Weens Casino in Oregon. February 24th of 2020, I'll be headlining Brad Garrett's Club in Las Vegas. Come see me there. And also, I have a date in Miami where I am doing the Psychic Stand-Up Show, and I want to tell you about that because I want you all to come to that. That one's super special, and that's the show I'm trying to get on the road that I'd be so excited about. Also, if you listened to a couple of weeks ago, let's see, I had on Calvin Von Crush, and in that episode, he's the occult collector. In that episode, you heard me say to him, did we just get an EVP? And I went back and checked it out, and we absolutely did. So some of you may have rewound it at the time and said, is she right? Actually, not an EVP. Actually, that's a disembodied voice because I heard it right there. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the disembodied voice, which I believe is saying my name. But here you go. Because the spiritual church is all right, that's it. And tonight's episode, I'm not going to put a cap on the end, so leave me 5 stars wherever you can. Have a happy Halloween, and here we go. Let's start out with Jeff Thill. Everybody loves Jeff Thill. Jeff, you and Ryan Singer, who I was trying to get together for a pilot, always tons of comments. You and Jessa Reed and Ryan Singer. Just good to have you back. So it's Halloween episode. Jeff Thill, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff, how are you?
Really good. Yeah. Oh, wow. Halloween. Yeah, it's October. And I know that because Home Depot just told that to me about 30 minutes ago. It's not the place you'd expect to see Hollywood-style props for the, front porch, 75-foot pumpkins and animatronic skeletons that make 1960s Disneyland look like, a joke. And that's in Home Depot. So it's just such a weird world, It is. And those are not cheap. They are not cheap. You think you're going in for duct tape and a light bulb, and it's like, can I afford this? I mean, is this something I have to have? But maybe. I mean, it's $2,000, but who doesn't want an animatronic spider that can climb over the yard and shoot lasers out of its eyes when kids show up?
I know. Well, it's funny because there were some Halloweens where I would read tarot. I still do this sometimes. I'll keep the location disclosed. Very rich people in very rich area. A guy does up his whole house for Halloween. Unbelievable. How much does he do it? One year he rented the Batmobile because the theme was comics. And
oh my God.
Yes.
I'm so sorry that you told me that it's possible to rent the Batmobile. Now that I know that, I'm going to start saving my money because you know that I'm a huge Batman fan. But I'm the Adam West 1960s Batman. I can't go any further than that on the timeline.
That's right. I think this. No, this was the new one. This was definitely the new one. But so that guy, Home Depot stuff, not good enough for him. So
clearly,
yeah. So you grew up in a haunted house.
Well, you know what? It's not so much growing up. And I will say that as a kid, I never really saw or had any sort of experiences. I had a couple of minor things, happen like most of us have had. Randomly at different places I've been, but here's the strange thing, and it's the house that I've lived in now here in my early 40s to early 50s, and it's a house here in the city of Temecula. And when we bought it, it's a brand new house, right? It was actually sticks, and they built it here. when we first moved in, and
They
just like
built it for
Poltergeist, right?
you. No
Well, they
murders.
not quite for me, but for anyone in phase 3 of the stucco homes here. But so me, Karen, being a little bit dumb when it comes to this stuff, I thought, well, how can you have a ghost in a house that's brand new? That's not how the movies tell me it works.
Sure.
Yeah, but no, we definitely had some super bizarre, and to this day have some bizarre experiences. And of course, now you tell me, but I've been told that really it's more about, in some cases, the land, right, or the area. Yeah, and of course, Temecula has a rich and luxurious history in the Old West of Indian and local cowboy type incursions and hangings and murders and massacres and deaths. And boy, I mean, talk about
fun stuff.
A rich tapestry of horror. Yes, this is the area.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it's funny because even though I taped this before you, I have an episode coming up with Native paranormal seekers, and it was very interesting. There are ghost hunters that are Native American, and they talk about the layers of the land. And I said to them, because I knew someone that had an awful poltergeist, and I was like, I think they're on a Native American burial ground. What should they do? And they were like, move. There's nothing. That's their land. You got to move. So maybe you have hopefully you don't have to move, but you've been there a while.
There was never that. No, we didn't have, any voices saying get out, and the walls weren't bleeding, nothing like that.
Nothing.
But and when I say that, I just meant it never felt evil necessarily, but definitely pushy. Let's put it that way. So, yeah, I'll let you know what happened here. Are you ready? Are you ready to be? I wouldn't say freaked out, but at least maybe raise an eyebrow. Are you ready to at least raise an eyebrow?
My eyebrows are stretched out and ready to go. And then I'll actually tell you what happened here today in my apartment that freaked me out. Okay, go ahead.
I'll remind you. Yeah, no, So what was happening is this was maybe eight or so years ago. We started noticing the classic, we would be downstairs and we would hear stomping upstairs. And this is a 2-story house, you guys. And it's a very typical tract home, maybe, 2,600 square feet with a vaulted ceiling. So if you are in our main area, you just walked in the front door. We had this sort of main area with the living room and all that, and a staircase, and it's vaulted. And there's actually a catwalk upstairs. So you can little balconies. So you can walk along the catwalk to our bedroom, and it's all in this open area. And we would be downstairs underneath our bedroom watching TV, stomp, stomp, stomp. And of course, I don't mean light footsteps or pitter patter or, gosh, do we maybe have some mice skittering around in the attic? If it was a mouse, it would have weighed about 200 pounds and been purposely stomping. So this went on for quite some time, and it was just completely random.
Wow.
And then I would say shortly after the stomping, we would start to see the classic out of the corner of your eye. And Karen, forgive me because I'm probably jumping ahead of myself, but it always seems to happen out of the corner of your eye. I've heard your eye is very sensitive in the corners in terms of the light that it can accept. So we would see, at least I would see, every single time, almost like a videotape playing over and over again, what looked like a kid running across the tiled floor in the main room where the vaulted ceiling is, and kind of hide beneath the dining room table. And it was the same action each time. It was a little kid running and skittering and hiding behind the dining room table. And it would always happen when I'm coming downstairs in the morning. And you could see it just enough to know that it really happened. And Karen, it was so real that each and every time, like a moron, I had to walk over to that section of the dining room table just to make sure there wasn't someone there. I mean, it's so real, you just have to check.
Now, does it seem to you like it was a residual or it was intelligent haunting?
This felt, well, so I'm only gonna say intelligent. I know what you mean by residual, more like a reflection or a leftover or a repeat or something, but yeah. I'm going to say intelligent because of how the story ends.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah. And so flash forward, unconnected, connected, but we didn't talk to each other about this, right? So keep in mind the house, we're not freaking out. No one's screaming and yelling, oh my God, we got to get an exorcist. Let's move out of the house. It didn't feel bad. And then also if I was doing laundry, out of the corner of my eye, I would see someone clearly walk by me into the bathroom. And it just would happen all the time. And again, you have to. Your brain can't stop it. You have to go in the bathroom and look. Is there someone in there? What the
Yes.
hell? And there's nobody there. My wife then would report the exact same thing. And we would kind of put two and two together. My God, you saw the same thing. Me too. My gosh. And the third place that it was happening quite a bit to a ridiculous amount was the door, our bedroom door, and whatever this thing or things were, it would congregate out in front of our bedroom door on the catwalk. So it would just sort of sit out in front of our door to the point where I once had a guest, a good buddy of mine, which you know very well, our comedian friend, Mark Murdoch.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark Murdoch was spending the night, and he, at 2:00 in the morning, decided to walk to go to the bathroom. He was downstairs and he looked up to the catwalk and he saw right by our bedroom door a person standing there. And he just assumed it was me. Hey, Jeff, sorry, buddy. It's really late. I didn't know you were up. Didn't mean to wake you up. And of course, the thing's not talking. And then he's just kind of like, what is that?
Wow.
And so what made us now take action is the fact that then my son, who was much younger at the time, was having nightmares.
Okay.
And he started reporting, there's something in my room and he couldn't sleep, and there's a man or whatever in there. And he would come into our bedroom very freaked out. My wife once laid in his bed and slept in there a little bit just to kind of calm him down. And she, in a twilight sleep, woke up in his bedroom and saw a young kid standing in front of her with blood on him. And it wasn't super scary, as weird as that sounds, you guys, but it was enough that she was like, what is going on in this house? Now this is getting a little out of control. And right before we got help, Karen, and actually called a ghost expert, the thing that pushed us over the edge was I went into what we called back then the playroom, which was just a room with a bunch of video games and stuff in it. And my kids were asleep. It was 3:00 in the morning. The whole house is sound asleep. And I was in that bedroom with the door closed and the doorknob. And I watched it rattle, 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 rattle. Somebody's trying to get in. And you could see the doorknob physically moving. And to the point where you think it's a joke. And of course, I just assumed my son got up, went to the bathroom, and it was a joke. Ha ha, Dad, rattle, rattle, rattle. And again, for the 100th time, I had to go check, and like an idiot, there's nothing there. Everyone's sound asleep. It's quiet as a church in the house. Wow. So that was the point where I'm like, all right.
We got to do something.
Do you want me to pause for a quick second there? Do you have anything to add to that? I just think it's
funny that I think it's funny that you think it's silly that you get up and look, but you always have to look, because what if it really was a burglar? And then you're like, well, I assumed it was a ghost, and then it killed us all.
Totally. Can you imagine? Try to tell the cops that later. Mr. Thill, there's one part of your story that just doesn't quite flesh out. Let's go over this one more time.
So you always got to look, whether you think it's real or not. You always got to look.
We're still trying to figure out how you didn't know there was a killer in the house. So the door rattled, and you didn't think that was odd? No, frankly, I didn't think it was odd at all.
Exactly. So now you're done. Now you're like, okay, it's too much now.
Yeah. Well, when I say too much, we didn't mean too much as in we're going to freak out and leave and gosh, this is the end of it. We just meant I would be interested to find out what this is. And I'm worried about my son. And, that kind of sucks that he's feeling kind of terrified.
Right.
At that time, I was working in Hollywood, and I was working at a production studio, and there was a person doing a paranormal show on television. And forgive me, I forget the name of it. They had I really did. No, I cannot for the life of me remember what it was, but they had a ghost / paranormal expert. Yeah. Okay. Someone who was sensitive, a medium. Thank you. And she, I didn't tell this woman any details. I just said, wow, we've got this definite situation in my house. And she's like, oh, okay. Has it manifested in anything physical? And I said, yeah, it has. And I didn't say anything. I didn't say doorknobs. I gave her no information. She said, you got to call this guy. His name is John. I just call him Ghost John. And she didn't even give me a last name because Karen, this was literally like she's going to lunch and I'm passing her in a hallway. And so it was so casual. And she said, call this guy up. And she goes, by the way, he doesn't need to be there. Mm-hmm. You can just talk to him over the phone, and it's happening if you just put the phone up and he'll let you know. I'm like, what? Now that seemed weird to me, almost weirder than a ghost. So,
work from home, ghost expert.
Don't need to be there. Can work from the home office. No, finally.
It's that, you know, the Matrix energy is all in one place at one time.
Sure. No, I totally get it. So, but I love the fact now that a paranormal researcher can work from home. So, no more, telecommuting, right?
Worst show ever, by the way. Guy on his couch solving problems.
he never leaves his desk. Yeah, he just sits there. Yeah, this show is not very visual. I don't
camera.
Like it. Yeah, one camera. That's so easy. Lockdown. So one evening at about 6:00, it was still light out. My wife and I sat on the couch in that main area with the vaulted room and the catwalk and all that. And I said, you know what? Let's do it. Let's just call this guy for fun. I call him up and I say, hey, man, I'm so sorry. I'm a mutual friend. Here's the thing. And I thought I was going to have to kind of apologize. And he's like, well, I'm in New York right now. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I can call you back later. Oh, shh. That's the first thing he said. He cuts me off and he goes, huh, interesting. Okay, can you hold on a second? Can you just hold the phone up in the air just for about 2 minutes, please? And I did it. And my wife and I were on, separate phones. She had one phone and I had the other. And by the way, this is a landline, you guys, not a cell phone.
What are those? Do you have to put a quarter in those?
You have to put a quarter.
So wait, I right away, I like his technique. When someone calls me now, I'm going to go, shh, wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Well, here's the thing. What I thought was so odd about it was I wasn't paying this gentleman for his services. He had never met me before. He was in a hotel doing some shoot in New York, and all I had to say was that there was something happening, and he didn't even care about introductions or anything. He wasn't, I wasn't paying him, like I said, you guys. So it's like I was so impressed with his professionalism where he's just like, let me just get to the point here. I'm hearing voices, right? So, my wife and I are looking at each other, and he goes, you've definitely got something going on there. Unless you tell me right now that there's other people in the room with you. And I go, no, there is nobody. It's just my wife and I. And he's like, okay. And he started to narrow it down really quickly. He started talking to somebody and he said, okay, hold on. And he was saying, he wasn't saying hold on to us. He was saying, hold on to this person he was talking to. And we got confused. And then he goes, so there's definitely some activity in your home, and there is a woman or maybe girl, I would say, but the sound of her voice, I'm going to say she's probably in her late teens, and her name is Sarah, and that's the best I can get. And but that's not the least of it. You definitely have someone else in there. Are you guys having anything that's a little more aggressive or maybe even malevolent? I'm like, yeah, for sure. My son's, definitely been experiencing things, but I didn't give him anything. I just said, my son's been experiencing things. And he goes, right. She knows all about that guy. And his name is Walt. And Walt is not evil, but Walt is angry and aggressive and temperamental. And she says she doesn't like Walt because Walt is oftentimes disrespectful and mean to the little boy. And my wife almost dropped the freaking phone because that's exactly what she saw in my son's room was a little boy.
Wow.
And he said the boy died in a very, very horrible way.
Car accident?
And Sarah, he didn't say. And he said Sarah kind of looks after him a little bit. And so they're kind of bonded in the afterlife a little. And Walter is a separate, person, character of some kind, who doesn't have anything to do with their story necessarily, but is also in the house. So so now all I did was I put 3 fingers up to my wife, like, as far as I could tell, so far we have 3, right? So, and then he said, most of your activity would be happening right out front of your bedroom.
Wow.
And that's when my wife and I were blown away. If you could have seen, if this was a comic strip, you guys, our heads would have exploded. So
Wow.
how the hell he knew that, I do not know, other than it's real, of course, you guys. So he then said to my wife, no, excuse me. He said, which one of you is more sensitive to ghosts? And I would say, I think it's kind of equal. We're both seeing all the same stuff. And he said, do me a favor. I want each of you to take the hand that you don't normally use. So if you're right-handed, take your left hand. Okay, yes. I want you to turn it palm up. Okay. And I want you to put it behind your back, palm up. And I felt like I was brought on stage at a magic show. All right, now
Is this your card?
Take your hand. Now, do you feel the deck? Great. Now I want you to sort through. Now, when you feel the right card, I want you to. That's exactly what it felt like. And Karen, the weirdest thing, he goes, "Do you feel anything?" And my wife was shocked and almost started laughing. And she goes, "That is so bizarre. My left hand has gone completely numb and tingling, almost like you get like a Charlie horse and you get those pins and needles in your hand."
Yeah.
She had the pins and needles, and he goes, and the guy wasn't even phased. He goes, "Okay, perfect. You're the one." And he goes, "I want you to go upstairs." And by the way, he's telling me upstairs, you guys. I didn't even necessarily tell him I had a 2-story house. I'm just like, how do you even know I have a 2-story?
Oh, so this guy is good.
He's really good. And they go upstairs. My wife goes upstairs. I stay downstairs. And she goes into our bedroom and closes the door. So I'm downstairs and she's upstairs. And he says to her, "Now do it again. Put your left hand palm up behind your back. And here's what I want you to say. I want you to say, Walter, you are now a presence that is understood by me. We know that you are in our house. This house is a safe place. We will not tolerate any kind of aggressive behavior. And if you continue in any way, shape, or form to be aggressive in any way to either the boy or anybody here in this house, we will take next steps to make sure you can never return to the house again." And she didn't finish the sentence. She got 2 or 3 words into that last sentence. And Karen, this is all I heard: a loud thud upstairs, like someone collapsed.
Wow.
And then nothing. Deanna, that's my wife's name. I didn't run. I wasn't terrified, but I went up the stairs really quickly, opened the door, and my wife is just now peeling herself off the bedroom floor. And I said, "What happened?" And she goes, "Jeff, I collapsed. I literally collapsed." She said, "I felt like this guy was yelling. He was angry. You could almost feel something coming towards you, like you felt the presence of a person coming towards you. And I went black, like you fainted." And she was okay, but she was still regaining consciousness. And I thought, what the heck? Now, guys, my wife is not prone to any of this stuff. She's the opposite. I'm the open-minded guy, and she's more of a, I wouldn't say skeptic, but she's definitely not the kind of person that's prone to theatrics. So we went downstairs and we sat in the kitchen per his instructions. The kitchen is a very safe zone. It's a very nice area. I want you to sit there for a second. And then he said, "By the way, Sarah is now in the kitchen area." And she says that she is in that little opening that leads from the family room to the other room right there on the other side of that little bar. He's describing the floor plan of my house perfectly, like dead on. And she's talking right now, and here's what blah, blah, blah. So I'll just wrap this up here, Karen. It ended with him saying, "Deanna, I want you to, for me, please tell Sarah that we are going to get rid of Walter, and if he doesn't keep behaving, continue to behave." And then Sarah apparently said, "Thank you so much. This has been such a huge help. He is very angry about that, I can tell, but I've never seen anyone put that guy in his place, and I'm hoping things are going to be better. And by the way, can the other 4 people stay?"
Oh.
That was the punchline at the end.
Oh. Well, actually, the other 4 people have been very well behaved, haven't they?
Extremely. I'm picturing people just politely sitting in the corner minding their own business. That's what I'm picturing.
Wow. Now, this guy, so this is 10, 15 minutes, half hour tops?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. See, this is what I think I know one person that could do this. I probably know two that might be able to say they could, but that's fascinating. And you still don't know who this guy is?
No, there's a tiny possibility that I could.
You can tell me offline.
No. There's a possibility that I might be able to go burying through old emails and or find the phone number somehow in my Rolodex. So offline, we can talk about that. But yeah, it was very impressive. And you guys, just as a flash forward to years later, 3 years later, my little niece, who's only about 6 or 7 years old, goes upstairs to that exact same spot on Christmas Eve. She breaks away from the crowd. We didn't even know she was up there. She goes on the catwalk and goes to that exact location in front of our bedroom door. And her mom goes up there to see what she's doing. And she says, "I'm talking to the little boy."
Oh.
And we're just like, whoa, totally unrelated. She's talking to no one, of course, but there was a little boy there, according to her. So,
see, yeah, there's so much to this story that I love, including that the guy. Now, this is very true, and people should know this. When people have a really bad situation, the help should be free. Okay. And there's a very famous woman that got very ostracized by the paranormal community because they were charging a lot of money. And, but that's a great story. And it also kind of shows, there are ghosts around all the time, spirits around all the time. And we just don't know because it's just the loud and noisy ones that we get mad at.
Sure.
Or that scare us.
Totally. You're right.
Jeff, that was a great story.
Yeah, no, thank you for letting me share it. Yeah, I've always, been amazed and awed by that. And whenever I think back on it, I think, man, that really happened.
I know. Isn't it fascinating? Because I read tarot in my apartment gets a little, it gets that energy. That's what people say. So I bring in a certain energy in here anyways, to a very old building that's pretty haunted anyways. And I am always burning incense. Every morning I do a meditation to cleanse the place. I do all this. So I always here's my little story about today. And there's always a story here in this house. Courage, when his nails get too long, I hear him across the floor all the time. And he has very long wicks in his nails. So it's always... So I hear that this morning and I look over where the sound is coming from and he's not there. And then I look over, he's laying down on the other side of the room. And I hear this like somebody's moving through. And before I even started reading tarot here or being weird here, I remember I thought it was a cat. Something totally brushed up against me when I was standing in the bathroom, like a cat would rub against your thigh with that push. They kind of push just a little bit.
Uh-huh. Sure.
And so I kind of didn't think anything. I thought, well, maybe I didn't hear that right. This is like you going to look. Maybe I didn't see that. And then sure enough, I had my first client is sitting there and I hear and then she looks under the chair and she's like, "Oh, I thought your dog rubbed up against my leg." So I was like, "Oh," so I call Sonia, the animal communicator. And I'm like, "Ask Courage what's going on in the house." And I said, "Is this a cat?" And she says, "No, it's like a little Yorkie and he's very happy there." Well, that doesn't bother me at all until I think about going to bed. And then I'm like, wait, what is running through the house making little noises? So right before I called you, the reason I had to delay it a half hour is because I just dragon blood resined the whole place and it's quiet as anything, I think. But anyways, that was my little ghost
interesting
story.
Wow.
I know
funny that would happen right before. Yeah, interesting. Oh my gosh.
You know what else? A tidbit. Sometimes notice if you see anything out of this corner of your eye, notice if it's the left corner.
Okay. Well, when I'm in the laundry room and that stuff happens, and it's, by the way, all this stuff still happens, you guys. It's just we don't get the malevolent, thing. Yes, left eye is mostly what happens with me. Left eye, yes.
Okay. It's said that that's sort of the way we see it. I don't know why. And they say if you're trying to see auras and stuff, it's always sort of out of the left side of your eye. Last question. So no one knows where all this came from. This is just from the land and layers of time, whatever happening there, huh?
No speculation. Yeah. Yeah. It made it sound like these folks had been dead for a while, that the way he was talking about them, and forgive me, some of the details I have forgotten over time, but the way he was talking about them and describing them, it made it sound like these were, folks from a while back. Yeah. From not from, even the 60s or 70s. I got the opinion that these were early 1900s, late,
right.
Late 1800s. Yeah.
That sounds about right. Oh my God. Well, Jeff, I cannot thank you enough. Majestic 12, right?
Yes, absolutely. And then Karen, super excited, about to do our first short film with this little production company here. And, it's called Mother Lode. And again, you would love it, of course, right? It's a conspiracy theorist is invited to a party in the desert that is held once a year by a multi-billionaire. And he likes to fund the research of conspiracy theorists. And of course, halfway through the party, he gets kind of knocked out and wakes up in an underground bunker, and now it's a black ops battle of wits to see what information he has. So this will be a real fun one. So thank you so much. This was a lot of fun to be able to tell the story. I appreciate it.
Great. Jeff, that okay, and come back on when your short film is done or whatever's happening there, because that sounds fantastic. Yeah. So
you bet.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Folks, we'll be right back. Who do tarot readers go for tarot readings? They go to Melissa Sonova at melissasonova.com. She gave me the best reading a couple of months ago that is still resonating and helping me out now. She is authentic and to the point. You loved her on the podcast. She is the no BS tarot reader. She also has a tarot class online right now. Check it out. Just watching the promo, you will see how much fun you are going to have while you learn. Also, check out her book, which is always right beside me when I'm doing my readings or my tarot card for me in the morning. It is called Kitchen Table Tarot, and you will love it. Melissa Sonova, that's MELISSACYNOVA. Check her out. Okay, so and this is sort of odd because I interviewed Dawn, and now I'm talking to Frank. And Frank, Dawn and I were giggling. Pronounce your last name properly for us.
It is Beruecos.
Beruecos. We.
Yes.
How long has she been married to you?
Going on 4 years.
Okay, she's got to get that down. So, folks, this is flipped in how I interviewed you guys, but you'll understand later. But Frank, real quick, tell me, because it's Halloween night, we're doing ghost stories. You're going to tell us your best ghost story, but how long have you been, or I guess you guys have the baby now, you're not doing as much investigating?
Yeah, it's difficult for us to go anywhere and investigate. So it's been a while. Recently, we were able to go to a cemetery, actually Friday the 13th. This past Friday the 13th, we went to a local cemetery. And before that, it had probably been at least a year since we investigated.
Well, that's going to make a great story when your kids are in college and they're going to be like, I don't know, our parents went nuts and now they're in all these haunted places. We don't know what happened. They were good for 20 years and now they're out there. So, but you had been an investigator for so long, and I'm going to let you lead. What is either one or two of the scariest things that a ghost story for the folks listening?
Okay. Well, gosh, I don't know. I've been to so many places in the last 18 years of investigating. So I would say the most active location that I've been to for everybody that knows me would be Camarillo State Hospital.
Right.
In Camarillo. And I've been to so many places, but Camarillo by far is probably the most active location anywhere that I could think of that I've investigated. And probably anywhere on the West Coast.
Wow. And it's gone now, right?
Yes. It's a university. It's been a university for some time now. However, there were a few buildings that were empty, and we had access to those buildings a long time ago. Not anymore. But I had been going there for almost a decade. And
we all know when you have an incredibly haunted place, the best thing to do is knock it down and put a university there with a whole bunch of kids. That makes perfect sense, doesn't it? It's like, what was the I did the last investigation there. What was it? The hospital, Linda Vista, turned it into old age home and then wondered why everyone was moving out.
Right.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so you were probably at Camarillo a lot, probably familiar with the ghosts there.
Oh, yes. I actually built a rapport with a lot of the spirits there. Going there for so many years, it's kind of funny that they got to know me, believe it or not, and by name. Because there was times where, obviously as an investigator, you're constantly recording. So I would capture a lot of EVPs, and many of the spirits knew my name and would call out to me. So I had it happen almost every single time I investigated there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's terrifying enough. I think I had.
It's almost like, and not only that, but it's I always got a sensation that they knew I was coming, which is weird. It's the only location that I could ever say that ever happened, where if I was on my way there, I felt like they knew I was coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the only person. I know Joe Mendoza, a few other investigators that have been going there for a long time, have said the same thing, that they always felt like the spirits knew they were coming, and they almost like they expected us.
Yeah, there's some sort of telepathy or something, and they know.
Yeah.
So how? So what was probably? I've seen some stories about Camarillo, but probably. I mean, have you seen full body apparitions there?
Yes, we have.
Oh, okay. Tell us about that.
Oh, wow. Let me see. Probably, I could think of the adolescent ward, where on the second floor, where we've seen dark shadow figures and actual apparitions starting to manifest in front of us.
What does that look like?
It's like a white, misty figure that just starts to take form. And, first we sense something in front of you, and, you just start looking into it, but it just starts to manifest, and it starts to take form. And what I've seen is like a white mist that starts to manifest into the silhouette of a person or a spirit.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I had a few negative type entities that I've seen as well, particularly in unit number 44, which was in the unit that we visited a lot because the amount of activity there was just so intense. And we did encounter a male spirit that was very large in size, and we were able to tell by the silhouette. Again, it was a dark figure standing in front of us that would come towards us. But then it got to the point after several investigations that we started to challenge him. I know it sounds strange.
What? Because when you see that, so you see this dark figure. Can you see through it, or it's just on the wall, or what does it look like?
You can't see through it. It's dark as it is, but you could still see the figure moving back and forth down the hall.
Wow.
It's pretty cool, but scary at the same time, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I know. You know what? Regular folks don't understand that. Sometimes as a paranormal investigator, you are caught in two emotions. Do I run, or what the hell is this? I need to see it.
Right. And, we came in contact with just so many spirits. And for those of the people that don't know, I mean, the hospital was open in 1933, closed in 1997, and was abandoned since then. And the state turned it into a university between 1997 and 2001.
Now, you said Unit 44. Do you know, was that, so this hospital, was it a mental hospital? Was it
yes.
Okay, which is always the worst.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, I had a lot of history of deaths, thousands of deaths there. 44, we kind of just came across it just by going into different buildings, and we just started noticing that activity in there. And it's strange, to say, but it's just we started to connect with the spirits there through the EVPs that we were getting, and in one particular bathroom. There was a spirit that we came in contact with that we felt that she had been sexually assaulted, possibly, or raped. And we had got that information through EVPs, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I remember some of this story. Yeah, that was sort of her spot, and she didn't like men coming in there, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. In fact, the very first time that I was there with an old friend of mine, and we were investigating, and it was just him and myself, and as we walked into the shower area, it was like a wall of energy that just started to push us back. And we both felt it at the same time. And we said, oh my God, there's something here that does not want us here. We both took a step back at the same time. And we just did not want to go in. And for seasoned investigators, I mean, for us, that was like, wow, this is like the first time we ever felt something this strong. So we set a recorder in there and then just let the recorder play. And we started to get recordings of a female voice, and she was crying. And you could hear her whimpering as well. Several visits later, that's when we started to get the EVPs. Talking about, oh, he was on top of me, get him off of me, and she would cry. And then we did get an EVP of a male. I'm not sure who caught it. Somebody in our group had caught it that said, so-and-so raped her. It was clear, just like that.
Wow. Now,
yeah, it was pretty sad.
And would that go on almost every time you were there?
Yes.
That was a loop that was repeating?
Yes, but they were intelligent spirits, and it wasn't residual. They're very active, but like I said, very intelligent. They were able to interact with us. They saw what we were doing. They tried to communicate desperately with us many times, and they were very conscious of what we were doing and why we were there.
So when
only location
when they were trying to get your attention, what was it because you said they were trying to desperately communicate with you? Were they trying to get out? Were they trying to warn you? What was happening? They just wanted to be heard. I think they wanted to communicate and let us know what was going on there, I believe. I mean, it's almost like there was a working hospital, and in their consciousness, it was still a hospital. But at the same time, some of these spirits there wanted to tell their stories, and they got our attention by slamming doors, by moving objects, by stomping on the floor. I mean, it was just, we would hear footsteps very loud down the hallway. And it's the only location that you can get almost any type of activity instantly at the moment you walk in. Now, did you ever have anything follow you home from there?
No, I didn't feel that. My wife Dawn did. She felt like something did follow her home once. Wow. And it wasn't pleasant at all.
No. So what did you think? Was there anything negative, non-human there?
Non-human, no. Everything that I did encounter there, it seemed like there were spirits that were there from the past, like former patients or even staff.
Wow, so it almost sounds like a safe haunt. I know that sounds weird, but to me it sounds a little bit like, I don't know, when you get into like, what was that place up in Fresno? The
Wolf Manor?
The Wolf Manor and stuff like that, where it really was, at least it was safe and the activity was good. So what in the paranormal have been this very scariest thing where it really stayed with you?
Well, let's see.
And you know what? And I have to say this because when you're not a scared guy. You're a big guy. You're a tough guy. Somebody's not going to take you on. So if it's scary to you, I'm terrified. And because you were a seasoned investigator, it's more than like you just saw a dark figure and like, yeah, so we kind of watched it wobble down the stairs like it was nothing. So have you ever run into anything you thought was demonic or way out of your pay grade?
Well, other than Camarillo, no. There was one incident that did happen there at Camarillo, unit number 44, with that male spirit, the big entity that I told you about that we encountered there. The friend that was with me, he had taken some holy water and spread it inside the shower room. And as we walked into the hallway, I felt a spirit coming towards us, and he was not happy about that. He didn't like that, obviously, and he came towards us, and that's when I felt like it was very negative. But it's the only time ever happened to me where I felt like it started to. I started to channel that spirit, and it almost possessed me, because at one point I wanted to hit him for doing that. It was straight. It was weird. I started to make a fist and look at him, and I wanted to hit him so bad and just punch him. And I took a stance against him. So he looked at me like, "What are you doing?" And I felt faint, like I was going to faint, but at the same time I wanted to hit him. But I felt the anger from that spirit.
You know,
because
that's an interesting thing, because I know you have walk-ins where the thing literally, the person becomes that person, where sometimes they're not conscious, but you were conscious of the whole thing.
oh yes, yeah. Like I said, I felt like I was going to faint, but at the same time, like I was conscious, like you said, and I just wanted to hit them. At that point, they had to practically carry me out of that unit downstairs and outside into fresh air, and that's when I started to come to, and I just felt like, oh my God, like what just happened?
Wow. Did you, and this is very interesting, were you aware, so you weren't aware as though someone else was in, it was just a mood that took you over?
Right.
I've been on so many ghost hunts with skeptics, and sometimes I wonder if the spirits do this on purpose, but I've been where there have been big guys like you, and all of a sudden they'll look at me and go, I don't know what's wrong, but I think I'm going to cry. And not that it's funny. That's not, I don't want to make fun of any, because men, please feel free to cry, but it's always the skeptic. And it's like something gets too close that they pick up that emotion and they're ready to cry. And, wow, that's amazing, because, you know, I would be afraid if you were suddenly going to try and hit me, because you are, like I said, not a wimp. So that must have been, so all of a sudden you came to and you were like, what happened? Wow. That's bad enough.
Yeah. And then, right after that, we played the audio we had been recording the whole time. And we did hear the male spirit, and he threatened us. And he said, get out of here. Of course, you always get to get out. But he was just like, get out of here. And that happened at the moment that I wanted to hit him. Wow. That I caught that recording. Yeah, it was amazing.
Well, that's perhaps what's available to us on the other side. So we can come back and try and punch the people we wanted to. Well, awesome. Well, Frank, do you have anything you guys want to promote or want me to put in the show notes where people can see you or to hear your stories?
Well, I don't have too much going on right now that I can promote, to be honest with you. Like I said, it's been a while. I'm in the process of writing a book, though, on my investigations there at Camarillo. So I'm in the process of doing that. Hopefully, I get more time to work on it. But other than that, I really don't have too much. Like I said, it's just difficult with the kids and the baby and getting out and investigating. So we've got to put that on the back burner.
It's a whole different type of nightmare with kids, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Frank, thanks for that. And listen, when you get your book together, give me a call. I'm sure everybody will want to hear, the stories are fascinating, but thanks for making my Halloween episode great.
Oh, thank you. No problem. Thank you.
All right. Hang on, folks. We'll be right back. Psychic medium and buddy of mine, Terry Huberman, is with me today. Terry, you've given me so many great readings and healings, and now you've got everything together in one package. Tell me about that.
I sure do. So this package has energy healings, readings, and coaching.
Coaching, that's the best. And people, they buy the package. You give them coaching once a week?
Yeah, so we meet online once a week, and in between, there's support as well.
And who would this be for?
This is really for folks who are in indecision, needing to get into their intuition because they're blocked or stuck. They need to move forward. And so we explore what the root causes of the problems are.
And helps them get out of their own way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Terrific. And what can they expect from this?
Sure. So moving from anxiousness to confidence, accessing their freedom, joy, and security, and really being in alignment with themselves so they have that clear direction, so they know, aha, this is what I need to do next to reach my goals.
So now there's something that's free so people can talk to you and see if this is for them.
Yeah, absolutely. On my website, terryhuberman.com, there is a page where you can click, and it's the intuitive coaching package. And there is a button there that says schedule a free call. So you go ahead, schedule it. We'll get on a call and you can learn more about this program, and we'll see if this is a good fit for you or not.
See if there's chemistry.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's an odd date.
terryhuberman.com, TerryHuberman. I highly recommend it, folks. Okay, folks. Now, this story, I reached out. This is the best story. I reached out to my friend, Dawn Beruecos. Did I say that right, Dawn? Right?
No.
Beruecos.
Wait, let me see. Beruecos. Okay. So me and you together saying it, maybe we'll be right.
And just so you know, that's not Dawn's original name. That's her married name. And we were just joking about how hard it is to say, but we did it.
Yeah, we did it.
Awesome. So, Dawn, you have one of my, now when I called you about this story, you were like, what? And what happened when I told you the story I wanted you to tell on my podcast?
I didn't know what you were talking about. I was like, has she gone crazy? What is she talking about? Maybe she has the wrong person. And so I talked to Frank about it, and he's like, remember, this is what happened, don't you? And I thought, oh my God, it did happen. You know, almost like I wish it was maybe a nightmare, but it actually happened, you know. And I kind of blocked it out and stuff like that because it was just kind of traumatizing at that point. And it almost made me not want to investigate anymore.
Right.
So I kind of had to just forget about it if I wanted to continue in the paranormal.
And by the way, I do apologize for bringing up any traumatic experiences, but it really is. I don't know if I want to say it's a fluke or it's what, but I'm going to let you start. So, how did this whole thing story start? You got a call for an investigation, correct?
We got a call for an investigation, and it sounded interesting, you know. And we interviewed the person and. You know, the regular interview. Is anybody on drugs there or using the Ouija board? You know, typical interview. Went good. Decided to go out and investigate the house there. And, when we got there, everything seemed fine. Usually when I get to places and I feel like there's maybe something that I can't handle there, I usually feel it and I kind of reevaluate and I think, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, but everything seemed pretty good there.
So
at the house.
Your instincts were good. You weren't feeling this was something demonic or something crazy.
Honestly, I walked in there thinking like there's probably nothing going on here. That's how I felt.
Perfect.
Yeah. So,
as a terrifying siren goes by, that should be an alarm. This is an omen about where this story is going. Okay.
Yeah, and so we go and we listen to claims of, you know, I hear this and things moving and, you know, stuff like that. And it's exciting, you know. I think, well, you know, maybe my instincts are wrong. You know, maybe there is something here. And the house is fairly small. It's a single dwelling. So it was a 2-bedroom house, which most like original houses in LA are. You know, they're very small. The one thing that this house did have that I wasn't used to was it had a basement.
Right. We don't have those in LA.
Yeah. And I thought, what? That's weird. A basement. And they're like, yeah, you know, and you know, we hear things down there and all this and that. So I'm like, okay, you know, and we ended up investigating, you know, the typical recorder and video and all that there.
And you were with Frank, who is now your husband.
No, Frank wasn't with me.
Oh, who were you with?
I was with another investigator that no longer investigates anymore.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, Frank wasn't with me. Now, Frank came in at the end because I had to call him to help me, but he never came. So, but I was with another kind of like a seasoned investigator. The fact that the interview went so well and I thought, oh, this is probably nothing. I thought, you know what? Let me just take somebody that's new in the field.
And is this a female or a male?
This is a male.
Okay, and we won't say their name because at the end of the story, people will know why we won't say their name. Okay, so you guys are just doing the regular thing, you know, going around checking stuff, and
we're checking things. And there was actually one room that we were not allowed to go into, so we avoided that room. I mean, obviously, I was interested, but they said, "Oh, you know, there's nothing in there," you know. So we go on with our investigation. And all this and that. And person...
And you know, not to interrupt you, but that is a weird thing because usually when you've gone in investigations in people's home and they're worried about something, they usually give you access to everything.
Right. Exactly. And well, okay, so I've been to a couple where the people kept their kids in the house while we did it, and they had them in a room, which I do not recommend. Usually when that happens, I am like, you know what, maybe we'll come back a different time when you have a babysitter somewhere else, you know?
Right.
But other than that, that's the only time that I've encountered that, you know, where they don't want me to go into another room. And I thought maybe, you know how some people have like a junk room? They have like a bunch of boxes and stuff like that. You can't get through there. That's pretty much what I thought it was.
Right.
So, so we, you know, the person that owns the house said, you know what, I'm going to let you guys do what you're going to do. I'm going to take off. So we're like, okay, whatever, you know, at that point, there was really nothing going on. I was still kind of like, oh, well, you know, you never know. You know, when you're investigating, it might be so quiet and nothing's going on, but then you go back to your evidence and you listen and stuff like that, and you'll hear something. Oh my God, I didn't know. Like, I thought nothing was going to happen, but you're hearing all these voices on your recorder.
Right.
So I was just like hoping that was what was going to happen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So the person ended up leaving. We're investigating. It's getting dark. And so I thought, you know what, let's go down to the basement. We go down to the basement. And it kind of like happened really fast, everything. In the moment, it seemed like it was for like, I was in there for 5 hours, you know, like, but everything at that moment happened really fast. So we go down and we hear the door close.
Behind you?
Behind us. And so I walk back up and it's locked, completely locked, deadbolt locked, can't get out. And I'm like, okay, did something happen? Like maybe we closed it and it locked on its own. I don't know. I don't know anything about locks like that. I'm thinking of this like crazy lock that maybe somebody bought, you know, that exists. But so we go down and I'm like, okay. The one thing that they did have down there was this kind of like little window that if it were to open, you can see outside.
Okay.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I know I'm from the East Coast, and we always had basements, and they're very small. The windows are very small, and usually they're sort of on that cement part underneath. Yeah, so I think I know what you're talking about. Most people should know. They're very small. Usually you can't crawl out them.
You can't crawl out of them, but usually you can open them. Okay?
Yes.
So that's what I know, but that's not what this was. We could see out, can't open it. And it's weird because the glass on that was like, kind of like it's glass, but you can't really see through it. It was super thick. Yeah. So I'm like, okay. And
so they wanted to make sure nobody could see in or out.
You couldn't, no matter what. It was kind of like that foggy glass, you know, and plus it was dark. You know, what am I going to do? You know, nobody's looking down at the bottom of a house, you know, so I'm not too scared at that moment. I'm like, you know, maybe that person's going to come back and see that we're locked down here, but that kind of didn't happen. So it started getting a little bit later and later. And at that time, we just stopped investigating. We're just kind of worried about getting out, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So, I remember that I was really I started to get really paranoid, and the person I was with was like saying that he was like claustrophobic, and the basement was about half of the house. So it was kind of big, you know. It started getting really dark and stuff in there, but we did have our flashlight. And I had a phone, but we didn't have great service there. And I'm trying to get service, and I can't get it. And then all of a sudden, so the stairs, there's about 12 stairs going up. If we're right at the bottom of the stairs, we can see who's coming in. But we were kind of at the side, so we can't see. We can only see a shadow. So the door opens, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's the lady, the person that owns the house. And it ended up not being. And just old, very old, scary person starts coming down the stairs.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my God, because this person was not mentioned in the whole interview or investigation, nothing. And she starts coming down, but she wasn't like super old. She still came down pretty fast. And I was like, oh my God, am I seeing like a ghost maybe?
Right.
I was scared. My partner was scared. He was in the corner and he's like looking at me and he's shaking his head like, no, like, I feel like he was looking at me like, we're going to die down here. I've never seen a face like that. He was so scared. And my heart's beating and she's coming down and she's like, you're not supposed to be down here. You guys are going to stay down here forever. And I'm like, what? And I'm trying to like process this. And I know she said a lot more stuff, which I can't really remember, but something along the lines of like, you're going to be locked down here forever. And I remember she was carrying rope with her.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I was like, well, what are you planning on doing? And she goes, you guys are going to stay down here. Nobody's going to know. They're going to think that you left. And she goes back up the stairs and me not even thinking maybe I should go after her. I didn't.
Well,
she locked the door again.
No,
yeah.
you had to be frozen because that's like out of a horror movie that we never think is going to happen.
Exactly. So she goes up there and I hear like, walking back and forth and stuff. And 5 minutes later, she opens the door and she throws a bag down and it's all of our equipment. Now, at that moment, I didn't think about this, but afterwards I was thinking, oh, she probably threw that bag down because if somebody was going to come back, she was just going to say, oh, they left. And there was like no trace of our stuff. That's what I figured.
Right.
It sounded right to me, because why else would she collect everything and just throw it down? So there goes all of our stuff down there. And she's like, I'm going to be back for you guys. Just be ready. And I'm like, oh my God, this lady is going to go get a knife. Like I've watched every horror movie. And so all these scenarios are just coming to my mind. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And I'm trying to use my phone. I'm trying to call Frank. And I'm like, oh my God, we need to get out of here. She's going to end up killing us. Like what's going to happen? And the next thing I remember is she did come down. We were down there for a while. And sitting like kind of against the wall to where we can see the stairs because I didn't want her to, just like barge down and not us be ready. And I'm telling my friend, I'm like, listen, we have to be ready with like, we need to do something. And the thing is that the basement had a washer and dryer, but really nothing else.
So like there wasn't a crowbar or anything.
There wasn't a rake. There wasn't anything down there, like nothing that we can use. And he's, whether we can like hide in the washer or dryer, that would be the only thing. But then I would think that her craziness would come down and probably start it or something. So I was just like, there's nothing we have to use like our strength, that's all we can use. So she ended up coming back down and she had rope with her and she had those things that God, what are they called? The ones that you put on a car and you kind of like hold things down.
Bungee cords?
Bungee cords. Because I remember they had like a hook at the end, on each end. Uh-huh. Yeah. So she had a bunch of those and she's like, you guys are, she told us, she goes, you guys have to be ready. And I'm like, are you ready for it? She goes, you have to be ready to die. And she started going on this nonsense about, sacrificing and this and that. And I'm like, and I'm trying to make sense of it because the person I was with was not, and I could feel him shaking. So I'm like, I have to be the person that's thinking here. Like, I need to know what's going on and stuff. So I'm trying to talk to her, and I'm like, well, what do you want? Do you want money? Like, what do you need? I can help you. Let me know. Let me make a call. I can help you. And so, no, I don't want anything. I just wanted you dead. I don't know why you're in my house. There's nothing here. And then she started going on, the voices that are in the house. And then she started saying, like, the voices in the house, they belong to somebody, like, she's just naming names, and they only talk to me. I don't know why you're here. And she's just going on, and I don't know what to do. You know, at that point, I don't know what to do. And so she lunges towards us. Ugh. And she's just standing there, and we're sitting there, and I couldn't get up. Like, people say, you know, people always say, you know, if somebody tries to attack you and you got to fight back, and, you know, I would have never done this and that. But when you're in the moment, I was almost like frozen in a way where I just couldn't move.
I totally, it's almost like when there's an earthquake, and I always picture myself grabbing my dog and running out. But when an earthquake hits, all your body just is like, get out. So you never know how you're actually going to react in this situation.
Right. Yeah. You know, and you don't hear about things like that. Nobody, you know, when you investigate with a team, or if you talk to somebody before you investigate, you know, somebody that's been around the paranormal for a long time, they don't talk about things like this.
And nobody is like this. You don't meet people like this. Even the craziest schizophrenics I know are not like this.
Right. And the thing is that she was older and stuff, but she still seemed put together. Does that make any sense? I mean, you know,
she knew what she was doing.
She knew what she was doing, and she was spewing out this weird crap and stuff. But yeah, she knew what she was doing. So I don't know if she was saying those things to scare us more, which it you know, it worked. But I feel like she had a plan. You know, she had the rope, she had this, she had that. You know, and I'm like, you know, this was pre-planned. Like, she knew somebody was coming to the house. The person probably told her, oh, you know, we have paranormal investigators coming and blah, blah, blah. You know, oh, this is what I'm going to do. You know, so I feel like she knew what she was doing, but in the same time, she was kind of crazy.
But it seems
it was just like half and half.
It seems like you said, there was a plan, like maybe she had done this before.
Yeah. Yeah, like, okay, so when she kind of came towards us, she told my friend, turn around. I want you to turn around. I want you to look at the wall. And what comes to my mind? What's the one movie that comes to my mind?
Blair Witch.
Yes. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, yeah. And I'm like, don't turn around. And she's like, don't tell him what to do. And she's like, she told him, she's like, if you knew what's better for you, you would turn around. So I suggest you turn around. So he turned around. And that's when she tied him. Yeah. And still, I'm sitting there. I'm still freaking sitting there, not moving. And I mean, what do? I want to help him. I want to get out. I need to run upstairs, you know, and I'm thinking all this. And I don't know if she noticed that it seemed like things were just going through my head. Like, okay, what do I got to do? And she said, you can't get out. I locked it behind me. You can't get out. We're all stuck here. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. And she goes, get up and try to get out. And I'm like, you know what? What if I get up? I run up there and I try to get out. She runs after me. You know, like, that's the one thing that kind of just held me down, was these scenarios that kept going through my head, you know? And, you know, when you watch a lot of movies, you know, you read a lot of books, horror movies, and books about, you know, things like that. It happens, you know, it's all going through your head. Okay, well, what if this and what if that? So she ended up tying him up, and he's like screaming, you know, and he's like, don't kill me, don't kill me. And she's laughing, and I'm just like looking at her like, oh my God, you know, what's going to happen? And she ends up like tackling me pretty much. Yeah. She gets on top of me and she puts her hands on my neck. And I guess at that time, I snapped out of it. I pretty much thought, no, this is survival mode now. Like, I have to stop thinking about, you know, like all these crazy movies that I watch, and this is survival mode. And I ended up just pushing her off of me. And I pushed her down really hard to where she kind of couldn't get up right away. And I got my phone and I'm running up the stairs. I couldn't open the door, but I ended up getting service. And I had maybe a little bit of service, and I'm calling 911. And the lady gets on the phone and I'm like, I'm here at this house. I can't remember the address. This is the street. It has a basement. And the lady's like, I can't help you if you tell me there's just I'm like, this lady's attacking us. She's keeping us down here. She's going to kill us. I know she is. She's trying to kill us. And I could hear her getting up and stuff. And I was like, get away from me. I have 911 on my phone. And she goes, I don't care. I don't care what you do. I'm going to kill you. I can't believe you did that. And I'm telling the lady, and I'm like, this is the street. This is the color of the house. Please send somebody right now. So at that moment, I hang up, and that lady's coming up the stairs, and it was instinct for me, and I had to push her back down. I mean, of course, I felt bad because she's an older lady.
No, you
but
had to. You had
I
to.
also need to save myself. So I rushed back up to the door because it's kind of like I had to stand against the door to get any kind of service. And I ended up calling Frank, and I'm like, I'm stuck down here. I don't know what to do. And he's like, what are you talking about? What's going on? I was just like I was just babbling like this lady. And I don't know if he thought maybe I was crazy. Like, are you drunk? What's going on? You know, because you don't hear about things like this that happen.
No.
And so we're down there, and we finally hear the sirens come. So I call Frank back again because I ended up hanging up. And I think he was trying to call me because I'm losing signals with him. But the 911 operator ended up calling me back because I hung up on her. And I guess you're supposed to stay on the phone with them. Mm-hmm. I ended up just hanging up. She ends up calling me back, and she's like, is this the house? And she's describing it because I believe that they're in contact with whatever police is there on the scene. And I said, yeah, this is the house. We're downstairs. I could hear them banging on the door outside. And I'm like, it's locked. They have to break in the door. And what seemed like 10 minutes, which was only 30 seconds, they ended up breaking down the door and coming to where the kitchen is. That's where you can go downstairs and stuff. So at the same time, my client ends up pulling in. And she's like, what's going on? You know, what's happening here? And they're like, we got a call. They ended up opening the basement door and getting us all out of there. So it happens that this was the great-grandmother. She was schizo. She had, something wrong with her, dementia, I believe it was called. And I guess this has happened before, not with paranormal investigators, but she's attacked a lot of people. And to the point where she's putting people in hospitals for stabbing. Now, the reason why she was out, I don't know, but she was living in the house, which was her room that we couldn't go into.
Oh, my God.
They ended up just taking her. And from what I know, because this whole thing happened, and afterwards we had to go to court and, and then we talked to the, police station about it and stuff like that. They ended up admitting her, and she's passed away since then. But I don't know. It was just really weird. I feel like if I didn't call anybody, I would have probably died down there. I think, that moment when I pushed her off of me was just a moment for me, and when I was up. But if I didn't have my phone, I wouldn't have ran up and tried to get signal or called anybody. I would have just been down there probably fighting her. I don't know, maybe giving up, or who knows what would have happened, because I couldn't kind of rely on the person that was with me, because he was just, I remember him screaming, but then I remember it going really quiet. So it happened that he ended up passing out just from pure fright,
Well, yeah, I a few weeks ago, I did a story with Ryan Singer where he was out in the woods and it was terrifying. But this is this is what horror movies are made of. Did you think at all about suing these people?
I did, but I don't know. I didn't do it. They offered to pay damages, but I didn't. I almost felt bad for the lady because even though I said that she seemed to know what she was doing, which she did, but she also was kind of like not there.
Right.
I don't blame her. I mean, I should. I blame the daughter.
That's what I was going to say. Absolutely.
The homeowner. And the thing about this is that people, it's not a paranormal story. This is what would you call it? Like,
just a horrible, scary story.
Well, no, this is something that can happen. You need to talk about this.
Right.
People need to know. All these investigators that go out that are gung-ho and they want to go and do their, go investigate houses and do all this and that. You have to remember, like, if somebody tells you, hey, don't go into the room, ask them why. Always ask tons of questions. You need to know who lives in the house. You need to know everybody. This is like a PSA for like, this is what you need to do. This can happen to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrible, and I hope that nobody ever goes through something like that,
But you are right. We deal with all kinds of different fear in the paranormal, but this is the most, it had to have been surreal.
It was. Yeah. I mean, because when I ghost hunt, I don't feel like a ghost is going to attack me and kill me.
Right.
I mean, there's been instances where I was scared, who isn't? Oh yeah, I'm scared in this place. It's creepy. But I'm not thinking like, oh, I'm going to die.
No, and usually what you're afraid of is kind of like the other night it's also why you always go in teams. You always know who you're going with. Somebody knows where you are. People doing this alone should never, but and you do never really know. There's so many, that daughter should have never, ever, like, that makes no sense to me. I almost wonder if the daughter had some weird sadistic streak herself that she let that happen.
Well, that's what some of the police officers were like, maybe she knew about it. Because they were asking me, do you know her from anywhere? Do you have any enemies? Like, is she an enemy of yours? It was questions like that. What if she put her to it? Like, what if she told her, you need to kill those people? I'm going to leave. I'm going to conveniently leave. They're going to go to the basement because it was weird because we were, doing the house and stuff. And I said, well, let's go to the basement. And she's like, well, no, let's do the living room and like, do EVPs or whatever. Cause I asked her if she would, sit with us and stuff like that because I wanted her to ask questions. And so all of this kind of stuff, like, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't pick up on that. I didn't.
Well, you weren't looking for that. You were.
I wasn't looking for it. But I mean, they questioned her. Like I could have sued them. I really could have, and I didn't. I kind of just wanted to get away from it.
I understand
didn't want to think about it.
Yeah.
And the fact that they, exactly. The fact that they put her mother away or grandmother. She was old. Away was okay with me. I was thinking, well, she can't hurt anybody. The lady, she ended up selling her house. And so she's not even in California anymore. It's weird because it's like for a while I kind of kept track of her because then I did start thinking, like, what if she's somebody that doesn't like me or like somebody I don't remember, And, it got the best of me. And I was passing by the house. And I was, watching her on social media and stuff and thinking like, oh my God, like what if she comes to my house? Or, so for a while it was consuming me, which is why I had to go and seek help and kind of erase it from my mind.
Right.
But before that happened, I knew that she sold her house and she ended up moving like out of state.
Oh my God.
So,
well, also, unless that great grandmother with dementia had been compromised by a spirit, that's a very odd reaction. If any of our listeners have had a older person who suddenly became like that, like my parents have dementia, but they're not going that, like, that's an odd, to turn into a serial killer is a very odd sort of reaction. Like, I wonder if there really were ghosts and they were compromised. But that, you were right, and yes, and thank you so much for sharing this story, because it is one of the things as a paranormal investigator, the last thing you're worried about are the other people.
Yeah,
you're not
definitely. And one thing I wanted to add was that I was able to recover the recorder after the police took it and stuff like that, and there was nothing on there.
So no EVPs, no anything, just
nothing. There was no trace of anything at all on the recorder, because that's what I thought. I thought maybe like she's so, like people get to this place where they kind of conjure it up themselves.
Right.
And I thought maybe that, that's what happened. But when she threw the bed down with the recorders, it was still recording.
Wow.
So
hang on 1 second. Hey, stop it. Courage is upset by the story. No, there's a dog.
Courage.
So
it was still recording. So the recorder picked up everything of what she said.
Wow.
Because, think about it. Police come down and there's an old lady on the floor,
right.
that I kept pushing down. They could have thought, hey, what are these people doing? The daughter could have came and been like, they broke into the house and they're attacking my grandmother or whatever.
That was when you were saying the scenarios. That was one. Hold on a second. Courage. Stop it. It's an interview. Courage never barks. There must be another dog out there. Hold on a second. Hang on. I'm going to pause this. Best story ever, and Courage has to go nuts in it. Hang on. Okay, I think he's done. That was the other scenario that was rolling through my head, which was, and this may have been the lady's idea, which was, you have killed this old lady. There's no evidence except your word against hers. And the daughter goes, oh, we didn't know anything about it. Like maybe the daughter wanted to get rid of the mother.
Exactly. Yeah. I thought about that too. And when the police took the bag, he's like, what are these recorders? And I'm like, oh my God, please let one of them still be on. And all three of them were actually on.
Wow. So the evidence was right there.
Yeah. The only thing that she pretty much broke was like a camera and like some other stuff. But I said, you have to listen to this. And they actually listened to it down there. And we kind of all stood around and he played one of the recorders back and their faces were like, oh my God, like, I can't believe it. And the daughter was down there and she's just like, her face too was like that. In the meantime, the ambulance was taking the grandmother or the mother, whatever she was, back up and stuff. They were bringing her back up with a gurney and stuff, but the officers listened to it. And I said, that's what happened. Because I was trying to tell them, and I think that so much was going on. I'm just giving them bits and pieces and stuff. And they're like, you need to calm down. And then the recorder. So it all kind of happened like that. And so they were able to get like everything.
And they're not used to stories like that. I know we see horror movies, but they're used to domestic abuse, somebody's on drugs, nothing. And I have to say, all I can picture is I would be shaking so much that I don't think I could make sense of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't just down there. Like, I was shaking. I can't even remember what I was telling them. And, they ended up having to take me to the hospital and stuff because I couldn't shake it off. Oh. Almost like when my body was shaking so much, almost like when you're like super cold to the bone and your body is just shaking, and your teeth are shattering and stuff. That's how I was. That's exactly how I was. They took my friend. He was passed out. And he's like, he doesn't know what's going on. They took him and stuff, but they took me back to the hospital and stuff. And then finally, after a couple of hours, I'm, calming down and stuff. And they come in with the recorder and they're like, is this what happened? And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what happened.
Oh my God. Well, Dawn, thank you for bringing this story out. It's not funny, but it's almost so absurdly like that person. How much experience did they have?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
I know Brandon Elvis that's on, he's on Ghost Hunters now, but he has one of the best, he has this picture of the ghost in the pool. I can't remember. And the Queen Mary. He has probably the best piece of evidence, and it was taken by someone they were bringing on their first ghost hunt. And she swung the camera. And what's the little ghost's name there, or the girl? They think it's a little girl.
Oh, Jackie.
Jackie, and she has this girl just swinging the camera caught this picture of a little girl peeking outside around the corner, and they've had it analyzed several times, and that was her first ghost hunting trip. And her last, because that was enough. But I cannot imagine this poor guy. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was his first. I mean, before we had went in a big group and we went to the cemetery. When you first starting out, cemetery crawlers. We go. It's so much fun. And there was probably about 12 of us that ended up going, and he was one of them. That was his first one. Now this is his second one, and. Yeah, after that, he told me, he said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to talk about it. He's like, and, as much as I like you, he goes, I can't talk to you anymore.
Right. I understand.
Yeah. And I totally understood. And I said, yeah. So he ended up just disappearing. Who knows where he's at? Just disappeared off of social media.
Oh my God. Yeah, you would start to get paranoid. Like, you were smart to follow that lady, because you would wonder, is she following us or what's going on? Only twice have I been out. One of them was in Ojai Cemetery, where we were all sitting around, just investigating, and these high school kids came up behind us completely quiet, and then just and that's terrifying, and it was over in a second. So this, I can't imagine. I can't, in a million years, I can't imagine.
Yeah, and I hope nobody ever goes through this. Think about it. Think about when you're going on an investigation, a private investigation. But this can happen anywhere. There's people that stay in abandoned buildings, real people, People get scared of ghosts, but you also have to be scared of, like, the real people out there,
Yes.
And it scared me enough to where, we went to Kentucky to investigate Waverly Hills, and we went to a cemetery that's known to be the most haunted cemetery in the United States and stuff. To the fact where we called the police to tell them we were going to go, and the police said, if something happens, don't call us. We will not go over there and save you. We're not driving up there. But it ended up being that we were more terrified of those people standing in the bushes in Kentucky, me and Frank.
Well, it is Kentucky.
Yeah. And then we were of the spirits that were there, because there was tons of spirits. We got so many EVPs, but it was the men we've seen standing out in the bushes, in the big trees. And it all came back, and I was like, this is, we can't put ourselves in this position anymore. Like, we have to be more aware and stuff. Why are two Hispanic people going to Kentucky cemetery, like rural Kentucky cemetery? Come on. Like, I mean, I pretty much could be, I probably could be okay there, but Frank, I'm like, dude, come on. We do not belong Let's go back.
Oh my God. But when the police say, don't, we're not coming for you. Yeah. And you know what? That's actually, because my comedy mind goes on, a funny sketch would be if you ran into a demon and you were like, whew, thank God it's just a demon.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, and of course you would think, oh yeah, I would think that maybe a smart person would be like, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't go because, they warned us and blah, blah, blah. But maybe not a paranormal investigator. It's
Right.
kind of like, oh, I'm not going to go. We're not going to go save you. And we're like, oh my God, there's something up there. We need to go right now.
I know.
Which we literally did. We were actually at dinner, in the middle of dinner, and they said that. We're like, okay, can we get the check? Let's go. Not even like thinking, but now this is before kids. So now I am more like, I think now that we have, our big family and stuff, now we're kind of like, okay, maybe we shouldn't do this or maybe we shouldn't do that, So I think right now we're pretty much safe with decision making.
Oh my God. But you know what? You are right. And I see it on YouTube and I see it on Twitter and people that just rush in and aren't afraid of anything. And, my friend Ryan was joking with me that a ghost hunter that said to someone, I'm a demon hunter. And he says to them, you can have that you go ahead and be whether, because when you've seen enough things, you don't rush in anymore. And now hearing this story, oh my God. Dawn, thank you so much for sharing that with me and terrifying everyone.
Oh, I loved it.
I'm going to switch. I'm going to put Frank's interview first. And, cause I think now, good luck going to sleep tonight, everybody. If I haven't terrified you with fairies or demon stories or demonologists or whatever, this one should do it. Dawn, you have given everyone a great Halloween. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, if you could leave me 5 stars wherever you listen. Wow, that's it. Go to karenrontowski.com or paranormalkaren.com. Leave me a review, make a tarot appointment. I can't even talk now, Dawn. That story was so freaking me out. All right, everybody, I'll see you next week.